Well, good evening, everyone. As Malia ducks into the corner here, she says, hello, everyone. Good to see you. Let's just make sure everybody give me a, oh, hold on. Let me get rid of that rookie mistake. Hold on. I'm on the laptop. Okay, got those closed off now. Very good. Gosh, all over the place. Amazing. Cell phones, all of it. How are you? I know it's been a very, very difficult time over the past month and a half. I have not been, it's been about a month and a half since I've done a live show, I would say. Month and a half, Malia? At least a month and a half. And yes, we've been preparing this new facility here, which eventually we're going to be able to show you more of and tell you more about what we're doing here. And so while everybody kind of funnels in and filters into the room here, I will, let me see if I can see what's going on here. Apologies. Wow, so it looks like a very active room, 281 watching already. Good to see everybody. I'll say hello to some folks and let everybody funnel into the room. I don't want to get started on the subject matter until we allow everybody to come in because YouTube kind of does that with notifications. They usually send out the notifications over the course of 10 or 15 minutes of the first thing. So I just like to get some hellos out of the way. And then I will edit this on the rebroadcast of it. I'll make sure that I edit out this piece so everybody can watch it without having to be inundated with saying hello. So good to see Amy Lynn, Jeannie Rose, Leslie Matisse, good to see Leslie, and thank all the moderators. Divine Renegade, good to see you. Cindy Ruggiero, Repent Now, Lou Mikado, good to see you, Lou. Yoda, good to see Yoda Master Jedi. Best Damn Podcast is here. Gorgeous Awesome. Hey, Gorgeous Awesome. And we are still going to show these staffs and talk about those. So please know that we love them. We're here. They're here. It's they actually go quite amazing in the facility here. So I'm looking forward to that. Best Damn Podcast will be on the show here shortly. I'm going to bring him on. Oh, good to see Scrub. Scrub, you've changed your name. You're now a watchman. Good to see you. And Malia says, hi, Scrub. So John is going to be on the show, and I might have Relentless Maverick. He might also come on. Plus, if you click on the link below in the description and you have Zoom conference, you can join, ask questions. You can scream at me, tell me I'm full of it. I don't care what, but come on board and we'll be able to discuss it in fellowship, regardless of how angry you are. We'll get past that. Now, let's discuss the subject matter, because we've all been obviously through much. And John and I are going to be talking about this later on in the show, because John has been very much, actually, John's been doing probably his best work he's ever done the past 3 months. John is very much into all of the subject matter that what I'm going to be discussing here is about the building of the Tower of Babel and the rise of AntiChrist and the purpose behind that, and what some of you may be seeing this, but many of you may not be. So I want to be able to articulate what is happening from a multitude of different angles. But what I want to do first is I want to share a presentation slide, because it was amazing that as I got on this laptop, and I apologize that I'm not set up better. We don't have, we've just got the basic lights that I've tried to set up here in my attempt to have an impromptu broadcast. Good to see Relentless Maverick just dropped into the house. Good to see you, and join in on Zoom if you would, Mav. So it's remarkable that, sorry guys, we'll get this started soon here. Yes, thanks for everybody for filling into the room again. I appreciate this. Thank you for all of the support. Yes, Mav, please contact me on Zoom and we will bring you on later on in the show. So I wanted to show you this presentation because this was from our gathering that we had in November. And let me try to pull this up here and share this screen. This was from the gathering that we had in November. Now, this was a presentation that I had basically addressed through the entire multi-day event that we had. So as I go through this, I spoke of the global condition, what it looks like, and how to prepare. So the cosmological, economic, political, psychological, spiritual, and physical worlds are revealing the truth of what has been, what is, and what is to come. And we'll discuss all of that during this fellowship, is what the intent was. But let me just walk through this, if I can change the slide here. The world versus the kingdom. Now, this is the summary. I'm going to make this a video download, but probably what I'm going to do is schedule a completely different live show, walk through and give the presentation that I had given at this fellowship. And let me just go through this, because I'm just going to go to a very specific screen here, if you'll allow me. Let's get past this. We had a discussion time. Geopolitical conditions. Global unrest. Now, these were the places at the time in November where there were unrest. Chile, Spain, France, Argentina, Brazil, Hong Kong, Nigeria, Venezuela, Syria, Palestine, Sudan, and soon, I said, the USA, Russia, Britain, Italy, and Hungary. Now, it would include Iran in this very soon. But I addressed US politics, the two-party system collapse, the coming of it, the alphabet of authority, hyper-partisanship as to what's happening, and a food crisis that is imminent. And then I had a video about that. So we discussed all of these things at this, that lawlessness would prevail. The big red pill was mass cognitive dissonance causes this hyper-partisan action, which we're witnessing right now. And you can see that it's primarily focused politically. And the animal, this is the thing, the animal in us and what you're witnessing right now, and this goes to even the organizations. Let's put out of the equation BLM and George Soros and all of those other things that you would be thinking about who is driving it. All of them are correct. The reality is it really comes from a single source and a single strategy. But what it does is it appeals to a specific nature of what you are already feeling. Otherwise, they can't get you to act in the way that you're acting globally. So the animal that recognizes its own cage, the prison walls that you're in, that's happening right now. This is the big red pill that is happening. They're recognizing the prison walls. They're recognizing the controllers. They're recognizing that they actually have owners. Now they're reacting to that in multitudes of different ways. Some people are reacting to that and saying, oh, I accept the fact that I have these owners. I bow down to them. Please supply us everything that we need. Solve this problem for us. My God, we're just in awful despair. Well, that despair has only begun. It's going to get much, much worse, probably much sooner than anybody realizes. And the more these animals, us, the animal in all of us, forget about the spiritual side of us, just the physical, just the egotistical side that now looks at somebody else as prey that they can get something from, or that is their opposition that is destroying the world that they believe. You'll notice that the narrative of both sides, they both say that they want the exact same thing. The separation is so profound right now that you can literally be saying the same thing, but completely disagree. So, and the true danger right now is exactly what the false prophets are all about. The real danger in false prophets are those people selling you an agenda of a certain political ideology or anything like that, even from a religion standpoint where there's some type of organization behind it, because you have to understand that everything right now is corrupt. Everything. Nothing in this world is absent of the corruption. And so you have that true danger of the false prophets selling you on these ideologies and things, and even new religions and pieces of religions. The reality is, and what I'm going to be discussing here, is going back to the basics of Christ in a way that maybe you didn't even realize they even existed until right now. And many people watching are going through that. So let me just cover some things to help you understand why I'm talking about Christ in this way. Because Jesus, the man, and Christ, if you're first time here, what was his true agenda? What was he truly trying to get you to see and understand? And Malia and I are going to get into this in depth. And it's going to be a deeper study, a scriptural study that speaks very much to the understanding of fatherhood. Because Christ destroys many things in single paragraphs in Matthew 23 we're going to go through. And he helps you understand what his agenda was, what he was trying to accomplish in that very short paragraph, at the same time of destroying major institutions of religion and thought. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because he was also trying desperately to get you to understand who you are and that you're a son. And that portion of you within you that is the son must acknowledge the Father. And once you can acknowledge the Father and acknowledge the sonship without vanity, without taking it in vain, then you can accomplish and be who you are intended to be at this time, knowing thyself, knowing exactly why you're here. I mean, the mere fact that you're here right now at this time in this world means that you are chosen, that you are blessed, you are intended to be here right now. The most important thing you can be doing in Christ is understanding why and not creating a false image as to what your job is. Your job isn't my job. It might be similar, but don't create an image as to what I do. This is something I was just discussing outside earlier. So these are all the things that Christ was trying to get you to understand about yourself because of what was coming upon the world, because of where they were at. So I just encourage you to go back and read the situation that Christ was in. Remember, leper colonies across the river, all of these things that are actually happening today. It was a very, very similar situation as written, and probably far more similar than you would like to deal with. So I've closed that, and I'm not going to present the rest of it, but I wanted you to be able to see the things that we had discussed previously that apply to right now. Now, I'm going to get into the Tower of Babel, but first we're going to read it from Genesis. So let me share the screen again and bring up Genesis here. Hold on one moment. So this is on Bible Hub, and this is Genesis 11, which speaks of the Tower of Babel. So let's just walk through this for 1 second. And as we walk through this, I'm going to explain to you what exactly we're experiencing right now and how you'll be able to see that tower as it has been built and is ready. So now the whole earth had one language and the same words. Now, don't be limited to language being English or British or Japanese or Mandarin or Hebrew or Aramaic or any other language. Don't think of language, because see, what we're speaking about here are attributes of things that language will apply in many ways. We all speak the same language right now. It's called the dollar. It's called money. It's called greed. When that language, when it says that God could see all of the thoughts of mankind were continuously evil, this is what that speaks of, is that the very idea in your mind as to what is good has been linked to something that is evil, and as such, as it progresses in its bent or wicked format, it will eventually manifest itself as the true evil that it is. And that is taking place as we speak. The results of the actions as a result of the monetary system, just one piece of this tower. These are just bricks. So let's continue and read this. Oops, excuse me, let's go back. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and they settled there. So they found a place that they could settle and build. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." So this is a reinforcement of a brick. When you heat it in an oven, it becomes stronger. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. So they didn't use rocks. Ordinarily, the masons would actually use stone. They wouldn't make bricks. So the very fact that they have to make this brick and combine things in order to make that brick means that it has a different significance, and they were doing that for a different reason. So the bricks that are being built here would be tantamount to all of the different agencies around the world, all of the different organizations, all of the different components from a social experiment, all of the different components from an economic experiment, all of the different components from a medical experiment. All of these different pieces are ownership, where they are taking over these things in the world. They are essentially building a tower to heaven so they can reach the heavens and become God, which was the motivation here. But let me continue, because this is going to help you understand greatly the Antichrist component of this, and most importantly, the Christ component. So come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the whole face of the earth." So let us do this unless we be separated. Our egos, let us become dominant. Let us become known. We want to run everything. And the Lord came down. Now you can just read this as the energy that type of activity goes against. The Lord will show up. These are the laws that you cannot avoid. And the Lord came down to see the city and tower which the children of man had built. The children of man. So these are the descendants allowing, like I said, the children of man, allowing the original wicked idea that is just bent to be manifest. And once you get so far away from the center, you will never be able to see where it was intended to begin and where it was intended to end, because the wickedness of just this slight bending of an idea of who you are changes everything. Behold, they are one people. One people. That doesn't mean a good thing. One people. They're one people with one thing in mind: greed, power, lust for things, very much of the world. They've already taken over from an entertainment standpoint. Everything you do, how would you ever exist without the aspects of the world that they've given you? I mean, movies, TV shows, sports, food, everything. They've taken over everything. And now they can edit your genes. You think there's diseases that are actual diseases that they don't have cures for? Think again. They do. They have that ability. They keep it from you. Jesus spoke about that too as well, but we'll get into that. So, the tower which the children of man had built, and the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do." Now, why would the Lord be concerned about what they will do? Because they're united. Well, that's because they're not united in something that is good. They're united in wickedness. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them, just like we have today from CERN. Oh, now we have this Space Force. Do you understand that the entire global takeover is taking place because the tower has been built? All of these assets are not accumulated by a single country or a single nation. They're built from a very specific ideology. And they've done this before. You can do a little history lookup and begin to understand a little bit about the Bolshevik Revolution. And I think that you're going to understand what we're about to face and just how bad it's going to get. So it continues. Nothing will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. Now, how does that happen now? Well, that's going to happen very quickly. It's already happening. We're being confused in the language of what we believe we are, where we believe we're supposed to go. Those languages are being confused. And the next step of this is the full economic collapse and famines and everything else that the word has spoken of at length and warned us about, but for very different reasons, because man has brought this upon themselves. This is why repentance is so critical. So the Lord dispersed them from over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. So the economic system has collapsed, and nobody speaks the same language anymore because everybody's back to being independent. However, that's going to change. So the Lord dispersed them from over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused, and that's exactly what it means, the language of all the earth. And from there, the Lord dispersed them from over the face of the earth. So now that you understand what that component is, let me help you understand what they have left to accomplish in order to complete that tower. The only thing that stands in their way is Christ in you. That's it. There is no other barrier, because as we've learned, even through the CIA documents that have been released through the Freedom of Information Act, that they even know that our consciousness is powerful. This is why we have archetypes like 9/11 to get everybody focused on the same idea on a global basis. Get all of their consciousness to say, wow, things will never be the same after this. Get them all of their collective consciousness to say, it will never return to normal, and get all of them collectively searching for a new normal. And this is where submission comes in. And it's critical because, as you know already, the evidence of face coverings, even written on the boxes of the face coverings themselves, say that they have zero evidence of effectiveness in all of their studies. So why still have them? Why still mandate them? Well, because people are terrified. They haven't thought for themselves. You understand that the Christ consciousness, Christ in you, has been usurped for most people. They have taken that. And so the separation of the wheat and the chaff right now is taking place. The AntiChrist is rising, and it will be crowned with a single one that represents the whole, once they have been able to narrow down the consciousness of all of those people to the very specific places they need them to be. And that is only going to come through massive pain and misery. You cannot get a free people, to be willing to do something that is so detrimental to themselves unless you have terrified them and you have forced them into doing it. They won't have to mandate vaccines. You just won't be able to buy or sell or trade or go to the doctor or buy food or travel across the country or be on their roads or anything. So now you understand why in Scripture there were leper colonies. They weren't actually lepers. They just didn't believe in the disease that the people were pushing upon them. And that disease was intended to separate. That's why it's called the crown. So you understand that the crown that they're trying to take is Christ in you. That's it. That's the crown. They're trying to take that right now. This is why Christ was so adamant about hanging on to your crown. Those that endure till the end will be saved. We are witnessing people lose their minds. Men's hearts will fail them for fear. Their heart, the things that they know are important, the love that they have, that they thought they had, is gone. They're being stripped of it. For the love of many will grow cold. You're witnessing that. That's one of the biggest signs that the Antichrist is alive in that person. when they have no more love in their heart. Now, trust me when I say this, that I understand how difficult it is. We sit and watch and marvel at what we witness, but we can't allow that to get us to have such disdain for everybody or even a group. They're all misled and lied to, just like we all were, just at different degrees, different times, different organizations, and all of it is designed to appeal to something that is truly important inside of you, something that you feel is a violation of your true rights. Regardless, they exploit that. As I've said, everything that is righteous is corrupt by the enemy the second it enters here. This is why we must always take every word captive, every thought captive, particularly right now. It's really very, very important. So we have 650 people watching. I truly appreciate anybody that is willing to come and listen to a story about the Tower of Babel and the rise of the Antichrist. And I think it's a testimony to exactly how everyone is feeling right now, that so many would come to such a title, because that's not typical. If I have that, I would normally have 300 or 400 people that have joined. But it seems to me that from what I've been hearing from a lot of people that have been following the channel, and I spoke to John about it, and I'd like him to be able to talk about it. But the Alpha Omega playlist on this channel has been a huge, a massive support system for many people. And I haven't realized just how much of an impact. And I think that's how the Father works, is that he doesn't want us to truly see the impact that we have, so we aren't corrupted in that. And I love that about the way that he works. So I don't mind when I don't know, and I prefer that. But I'd like to be able to tell all of you that your impact is far greater than you think it is. It always is. So I'm going to try to jump on here and grab some folks that are waiting in the wings. We have lots of participants here. Let me bring in, I'm trying to find, there's John. So John, Best Damn Podcast, I'm bringing on, because John and I had a great conversation this afternoon. And John, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me and see me? Do I need to switch to my computer?
I can't see you yet, but hold on. I got to get, I'm on one of them.
Hold on. I might be on my computer and not know it.
Okay, hold on one second. It'd be better to have a video, but if it's just audio. So John, until you figure that out, let's see here. I want to make sure that I've got you on here. John, can you hear me? Okay, I've got you back.
Yeah, I switched from my phone to my computer.
All right, so hold on. It was putting non-participants as participants, so I'm trying to get, there we go, panelists. Let me just remove this.
Here we go. I'm going to start my video.
Very good. So awesome. Nice little flames behind you there, John. Hey, so
somebody made them for me.
We had a great conversation, and I was just talking about the Alpha Omega playlist, and I just like, if you could just give everybody kind of your take on how this has been initially for you as far as that goes. And then what I'd like, because you've been very much on top of everything that is going on, talking about the different bricks of the Tower of Babel. If anybody wants to understand what I mean by bricks, if you've ever seen the Q document that has the whole structure of basically the cabal, that's the bricks of the tower that controls everything. So I would like John to really cover all of the different areas that he has and give a summary of some of the things that he's been revealing. But if you could, John, because it was amazing for you to confirm what I've been hearing in emails and people sending me emails and texts and instant messages about what they've been going through, because I haven't been communicating with many people outside of the folks that are here immediately right now. So if you could just give us a little, breakdown of our conversation.
Yeah, man. I was telling you though, just and like you was just stating, you don't really know or are able to kind of appreciate some of the things that you do when you're in the moment doing it. And I say this to people all the time. This is not even like because like we're collabing right now, or I say in videos that have nothing to do with Global Witness. Um, it just when you're brought up in passing about the Alpha Omega playlist, I almost feel like it should be a requirement or something as part of the awakening, just because of what it did for me. Like when I was going through those things, it's a confusing and scary time, and it's challenging, for people they feel isolated, they feel alone, they feel like nobody can understand and relate. And then, also, I think another big benefit of that was also how a lot of the things that were being spoken about then that hadn't even come to fruition yet, they hadn't manifested yet, are now happening now. So you're getting confirmation on multiple levels. Like, this is not only just in your spirit and you feel that it's true, but now you're seeing it play out in reality. And I think, I was telling you, like, it's not all easy to do the YouTube thing. And I think it would be extremely hard to kind of be the first one, the first guy to come out and say these things. I mean, I can remember like, just people, calling you a Luciferian, you were the devil, you were everything, until their life got changed by it, until they were, it's got a way of helping you to embrace you, helping you to embrace you. And we were also talking about how there's no other, that is living in your purpose, is being you, is being true and authentic to who you are. You try to be Derek, you're not going to be authentic. You're going to come out in some weird version of that. It's not going to be you. It's not going to fulfill you, but it's us overcoming, all of these different dogmas, these political paradigms, ideologies that we're beat down with from the time we're born, stepping out of that and stepping into who we are, like, and staying true to that, and that's not hard to do. Whenever you're living in you, it comes naturally, right? It comes naturally because it is you. It's when you're trying to fit in things, that's when I think life gets really, really complicated. So I'm just very appreciative of all the work you've done. And, obviously, I feel like what I've done has sprouted out of that. It kind of, when I first started watching you, Derek, what was really weird was I had no faith in humanity whatsoever. I was a very negative, even egotistical dude, but I had no faith. And when I seen the good that it brought out of people, the kinds of people that came out of that, I wanted that. I wanted that for myself. And even, I wanted to be around those kind of people and have that, in my life. And then even as my community started to blossom, I wanted something like that. I'm like, hey, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is who we really are, humans. This is us in our real form. Everything else is what's not natural to us, so.
Well, the thing is that we find ourselves longing for the things of the world. And then we spoke about graven images, right? So once people, discover, as we've talked about, as Christ spoke of, a Christ in you, the kingdom in you, when that kingdom is discovered, there's something that takes place and you get to make a decision because you find out you're the son. You're the son. And now that person, depending on their heart, where they're at, if they want for themselves and they're greedy and they're egotistical, well, they're going to go, hey, guess what? I've just discovered that I'm the guy. I'm your savior. And they start taking it, which is what I've always tried to say. That is what taking God's name in vain is.
Yes.
Vain meaning vanity for yourself. And that's why scripture says those that exalt themselves will be humbled, and those that humble themselves will be exalted. So they take that and they immediately run with it because it feels so normal and natural. Feels so normal and natural because it's appealing to the egotistical animal that you are in this physical body. And then they create a graven image as to what does that look like for them. right? Do they have to look like him? Should they grow their beard? Should they wear a robe? What should I do? Let me make this image. Oh, and also this is how people will receive me. I'll tell them that I'm the savior, and this is how they'll receive me. And if anybody receives you differently than that, you're a blasphemer and you don't believe in Jesus, right? You didn't believe in his return. It's amazing. So there's that section of the psychological breakdown that takes place. And if people began to just rely on that spirit in them to guide them, and again, humble themselves, that said, wow, what was Christ? Was he humble? If I'm acting like him, he was a man just like me.
Yeah.
And now if I'm talking just like him and not out of my ego, I'm not going to take credit for somebody else's healing that they did themselves, right? If they were thinking correctly, I would say, you've made yourself well, like Christ said. Your faith has made you well.
I can do nothing apart from the Father who sent me.
Period.
That's what it boils down to. That's at the end of the day.
So their idea of Jesus instantly is what? Wicked, bent, problematic. Yeah. And where does that go? It leads to disaster in a big hurry. So I encourage anybody that comes into Christ and the understanding, particularly if you're reading Christ's words right now and understanding that this man was a rebellious leader.
Yeah.
He was a rebel, right? This is why he had zealots around, right? These were a zealot at the time would be thought of as a terrorist. An extremist.
Yeah, he was the first domestic terrorist, the first conspiracy theorist.
And why? Because he was destroying institutions and helping people to understand who they are, because the Christ was already being usurped by the same folks that are doing it today.
And I did an episode talking about the abomination of desolation, right? It's in that third temple, right? That the left temple, the right temple, the third temple. It's putting that abomination of desolation in the third temple. They're trying to take your crown. And look, that virus, corona, that's a crown, and it's also a sun. So it's a virus against the sun, right? The crown. I mean, it's really spectacular.
And John, now think about this. Think about what's happening with people all over. Now, this is the true persecution of Christians. This is what's happening, because the crown of thorns is being put on our heads right now.
Yes.
That's the whole point. You're not allowed to think differently. That's the mind being put into prison. The symbology of that is putting your mind in prison. You're not allowed to be that way, Jesus. You're not allowed to be that way, John. You're not allowed to think that way, Derek. You're not allowed to think that way, Malia. You are not allowed, Debbie Bell, to think like that, Karen, Tammy, Ronnie, Graham, Reborn Again. You're not allowed. Put your mind back in prison. That's the crown of thorns. And that's taking place right now. And look at the crown of thorns, how people are reacting. Boy, they are lockstep, right in line with the exact narrative that they need to be.
Absolutely.
Abandoning all critical thinking, zero critical thinking whatsoever. Whatever they say is what's true. Whatever they
blows my mind.
Oh man, you can see how quickly this gets out of control. And folks, I cannot express to you how important it is for you to be spiritually connected, just as we're speaking about right now, because John will testify to this. If it wasn't for this connection, we would not be right. We would be out of our minds just like everybody else is. We would be involved in these arguments, these fights, and this divisiveness. We would be participating because we would be usurped. But when you're not, you can sit back and you can actually watch this and still be at peace and go, how did that happen? How did that happen? When my neighbors have lost their mind, my family has lost their mind. People won't even let you come over and visit. They're so terrified.
Absolutely.
I mean, where is the faith of these people that believe they live by faith? They have none except in the governing bodies, which is why the government really essentially means God.
Yeah, it means to govern, to control, Mental, mentality, your mind. Control, your mind. Govern also means to lord over, which is a derivative of archon. Imagine that. It's all connected, and that's what they're doing. If you control a person's perception, you control their reality. And these people, I always used to wonder, like, how would God, say these things to these people in the end when, he'd say, I never knew you, right? Well, he says, why do you call me teacher, when you didn't follow my teachings? Like, why do you call me Lord? And you look at it and it's like, wow, like we're literally being told, that we're wrong for believing what we do when we're just following what the actual dude said. We're just following what the words in red. Like, those are the ones we're following, saying, hey, I think these are right. And everybody else is following the guy that was a Roman and was part of the synagogue of Satan. He's about as corrupt as you get, as he was controlled opposition. That's what he
Controlled
was.
opposition is exactly the word. And that's how we ended up with institutions. And, if I can read this, we'll get into this, but I want to tell you that, let me find this very quickly here. I want to read to you something without getting into the whole story. Well, I wanted to cover this. I want to cover this with Malia, so I'm not going to get into this too much right now, but read Matthew 23. And then when we speak about it, when we come back and we speak about this, you'll understand what I'm saying. But Jesus in Matthew 23 destroys institutions in a single paragraph. This is why they wanted to kill him. And this is exactly why they'll want to kill you as well, because your very opposition and your statements about the opposition will and can corrupt the person that they've already convinced to join them. Mm-hmm. So we are rebellion leaders in this right now. They know it. We are on their list. Make no mistake about it.
That's why the federal agents are rolling out right now.
They're out. Trust me. They're around. They're out, and it's coming, folks. So make no mistake about it. Keep in mind that, as I've said, this has happened before. The Bolshevik Revolution. Keep in mind that the torment, 100 million people killed. This is why you needed another really bad thing like the Holocaust to cover up what had just taken place before. But 100 million people, they had to drop leaflets, millions of them, on Germany to remind people that it's not okay to eat their children. That's deep famine. This isn't scare or fear mongering. This is reality. This is what's coming. Make no mistake about it. This is the agenda. And if you're not connected here, if you are not inside yourself and you're not cool with you, know thyself. If you're not, and you haven't found Christ in you and recognized your place in it, you're going to have a very difficult time. So I just encourage you to, like I said, if no matter how difficult it might be for you to hear, if you're new and you believe you're a Christian, you know exactly what it's all about. Well, you're starting to understand, and you can see that the governmental bodies and the truths that they have told you over the last many hundreds of years is all crap. Well, consider this. Your religion was not immune to that at all.
No.
So, and once you begin to understand that and get back to the core of who Christ is, you're going to understand he might be the only one you can listen to right now. So I'm going to go here, and John, I'm going to bring in, before I do this, why don't you, John, give me a brief summary on all the things you've been covering the past month? Just a kind of bullet point summary on each piece: cosmological, economic, political, on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think what people need to really try to understand is that everything is playing out in multiple facets: prophetical, the physical, astronomical, and it's really evident what's going on. If we look at the economics and the monetary system, they're already buying change right now. So when you see a coin shortage, they're buying back change for more than what it's worth, but they're keeping that That's a major indication that they're getting ready to shut down shop and that the hyperinflation is on its way. When we look at the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the first one had a bow in Greek, which means a toxon. It's a device, it's a mechanism that is actually being used because this rider was wearing what? A crown, a corona, right? Corona, a crown, a device, a mechanism used conquering and to conquer. So conquering and to conquer means to subdue you, and it's actually judicially and through war. The next one that rolled out, you see Trump walk out. He's surrounded by all the generals. And keep in mind, he declared the national emergency, all that stuff, 333, 311, right? This is all rituals. This is gematria, and these are large sacrifices, which is why the red fiery one, when it comes out, which Putin called Trump the fiery red one, and America, when he come out with all those generals, that was an indication that one, Babylon had fallen. There was no presidential seal, there was no flag. Two, that he had the generals and that they were going to take peace from the earth, causing men and women to kill one another, which means, actually it means to butcher one another, which means to sacrifice like an animal. The next one are the scales, which are coming out now. It means to yoke us together. We're being yoked into the system. So what you're seeing when it talks about don't harm the oil or the wine, it's talking about hyperinflation, where a day's wage is the price of a meal. So when they're buying back coins and they're paying more than what they're worth, but they're keeping them. When you see Bitcoin and all these things, taking a nosedive or getting ready to take a nosedive, it's because the emergence of the digital dollar. That's why they're promising unemployment's going to go down. That's why and look what they did to you. After they sucked up all the wealth in the first stimulus, they waited to this time around. Now they're going to pull that $600 away from you, and they're going to take what's left. Over 500 CEOs and counting are stepping down from the companies they created. These are multi-billion-dollar industries. You don't just walk away from that, but yet they are. So that's a big indication that it's all collapsing. You look at the armies of the world. Trump withdrawing from Syria, allowing Turkey in there to create the Gog-Magog alliance. Iran, Turkey, Syria, Russia, right? All of these countries. This is half of that alliance. You see Revelation 16:12, preparing the way for the kings of the east. That's also taking place right there on the Euphrates. Same thing. Damascus turned rubble. Same thing, right? Then the Jared Kushner in the Middle East peace deal, they promised peace and security before sudden destruction. These are all prophetical things. That's why he is the trump card. And I think it's a major arcana. The MAGA means the magician, and it's the temple of Set, which is the temple of Satan. So that's what you're seeing right here with Trump's whole thing. It's make America Great Britain again, which is part of the Anglo world order. Right? Angel world order. It's white dudes, Anglo world order. It's not what you think it is. It's not a new world order. It's synagogue of Satan shit. That's why the whole, which Derek talks about that. He's talked about, who those people are. We know who they are. But then when we look at what's going on with the planet, the actual planet itself, look up at the sun. We've now got frontal facing, so they're earth facing right now. They're coronal holes that come out in coronal mass ejections. They cause electromagnetic pulse. That's why you're seeing all the planes crash. That's why you're seeing all the blackouts. That's why you're seeing the South Atlantic anomaly. And even under the ecliptic, where you're looking in the Arctic, you're seeing wildfires. You're seeing 5,000-mile Saharan dust plumes. You're seeing ice melting. The stuff turn red. All of these things are big indications of a magnetic reversal. But something's triggering that. You'll hear Suspicious Observer talk about the galactic sheet. I don't think it's the galactic sheet. I think it's actually being triggered by a neutron star, which is like Nibiru, Planet X. I believe that that's what's causing it. So even though he's saying it's galactic sheet, this still does the same thing. It's going to be a recurring micronova, and that's why the heavens and the earth pass away with a great noise and fervent heat or whatever, right? We're seeing over 35% loss in the magnetic field. You have two magnetic north poles, two magnetic south poles. They're splitting. You see it pulling over towards the Siberian side, because what they do when they hit 40 degrees is instability, right? It's pulling. That's why the mid-Atlantic ridge is getting pulled down. You see the moon confounding every night. You see the sun rising and setting anywhere from 21 to 29 degrees off. It's not that they're all moving around. It's us. We're the one tilting forward, right? That's what's causing all of the land to start rising and falling. That's crustal displacement. They tell you they're burning bodies in Wuhan. That's sulfur coming up out of the ground from crustal displacement, the methane, the carbon. It's not us that are doing these things. This is a cosmic event. This is a catastrophic cycle. Velikovsky tried to tell everybody, and everyone that's ever tried to say any of these things. I mean, Derek, they've all been discredited, called crazy conspiracy theorists, which, you know, they weaponized that a long time ago.
We're in
I
good
mean,
company.
we're in damn good company. And when you look around, you're going to notice that, okay, September on the 1st, the 6th, and the 22nd have asteroids that are potentially hazardous, but actually 2 of them are guaranteed. One has a non-zero chance of hitting, which is on the 22nd, and they believe it's going to be an air burst, right? The 1st and the 6th as well. We got some really big ones that are coming by. They're potentially hazardous. Then you look on the 2nd, right before the election, which 3/11, right? Keep in mind that whole ritual thing they got going. I don't think we're going to hit an election. Just my opinion. It doesn't look that way to me. You know what I mean?
I've said that to Malia a few times. I've said, I don't think we're going to have an election. And if we do, it's not going to look anything like you thought it would.
No.
I don't think we actually get to it. I think they're going to make absolutely certain it doesn't happen.
Well, look at the the 400 years or whatever of slavery ends August 19th. So, and this just so happens to be when we're supposed to, you know, this nemesis system, no matter what you believe, you can take my word for it or not, but around the 21st, about the 17th to the 24th of each month, it seems like we about get our ass torn up by something from space. Now, what that is it a weapon? Is it
Well,
I don't know.
We didn't establish a space force for nothing.
No.
But like I said, this is the completion of the tower, right? Mm-hmm. So we, being the crown, taking control of the consciousness of the people. Obviously, they know they're not going to be able to accomplish that, and there's a tremendous amount of killing that has to take place.
Yes,
a tremendous amount. And if people think for 1 second that these folks are beyond doing such mass exterminations, you have another thing coming. They enjoy it. It's that they're doing God's work in their eyes. They are holocausting people. They're sacrificing on the altar, which is why Jesus was like, about the Father, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Remember, who still likes sacrifices? Who are they serving? A bloodthirsty God that needs an animal that he created to be slaughtered and blood sprinkled on some physical throne? Have you ever lost your ever loving critical thinking mind to think that that's somehow a loving Father like Jesus spoke of? Graceful, merciful, peaceful, forgiving? Yeah, no, not the dude. Attributes, man. Follow the attributes.
Absolutely.
Remember that Satan uses the name of God. Satan exalted himself on high, placed himself on the throne, and calls himself God. Just right. As I've said to you before, John, like I probably said to you when we first met, find the place in the Bible where Satan, that guy, where's the Bible's evidence of the evil of Satan? You can't find it. The only time the dude appears is when he's in heaven, by the way, with God and God's angels, hanging out with them. And God says, what's up?
He also appears after he's duped everybody and he comes out of the bottomless pit. You know?
Yeah, out of the bottomless pit. And by the way, who lets him out of the bottomless pit? This is always the funny thing. People think, oh, Abaddon, Apollyon, right? This is crazy. Somebody let him out. And it says in the Bible, God did. Yeah, I'm not convinced.
Something is a bit off, man. When they're all worshiping cubes and sixes and eyes and, you know, all of this all around. It doesn't matter. Even Christianity, that's an unfolded cube, dude. Unfolded cube.
Big time. Christianity is a Rubik's cube right now that people are trying to figure out, and it looks like, based on what they've been given, that somebody removed all the stickers and put them in places that you could never, ever put it back together. So
well, they tell you the truth, though, right in everything. Right, it's Christianity, AntiChrist. It's right in the word, dude. You know, it's right in the word. The truth is that nobody will have an excuse to say that they didn't know, that they were never told, that they had no idea. That won't work. It's in everything. It's even in your street signs and in the geography. There's a guy called Grox1 who goes on Google Maps and draws out every sacrifice, every story in street signs through the topography of the land. Now you're telling me, this isn't some cyclical, script being ran constantly. You're tripping, because it's in everything. It's in everything.
So, hey, I'm going to bring in a few other people in here. I just have to get them promoted here to panelist so they can come on. Maverick, you've been promoted to panelist, and I'm going to also bring on Henrik. Let's see here. We've got, see if I can bring them on. Panelists, I've got 4 panelists. It look like all of you guys are on. Let me see. Henrik, start your video if you can. Maverick, start your video if you can. I've just sent you guys requests. I'd like to bring these folks on. So Maverick has talked about, all right, look at this. We got Henrik and we've got Maverick.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Maverick.
Hey, buddy.
Like that little butterfly there.
Yeah, that's, I just wanted to highlight my butterfly first. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, awesome. So Mav, you've spoken about the sulfur, right?
I've spoken about the gases that come out of the earth now. Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, I have. I've made several videos, I don't know if everyone listening will understand. I got a full screen.
Well, you can share your screen if you need to.
No, I don't need to share my screen.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice mask there. Nice mask there, Mav.
What's up, Bobby?
It's time. Hey, my brother. What's up, Johnny baby? It's time, bro. Man. It's like they want a mask. Okay, we'll give them a mask. The psyop, the psyop is alive and well. So if everyone will take a moment of their life and go to Google, you can Google the English language longest word. The longest word in the English lexicon is pneumano-ultramicroscopic silica volcanoconiosis. Now, that's a really good way to describe a lot of the illnesses that the medical industry is now prescribing big pharma to deal with, including the psychopathy of the human population that has been utterly, totally hypnotized by electromagnetic pulse wave technology through the videos and the TVs that they've been transmitting this stuff through to the receiver to adapt and to modify the way they perceive the world around them. In other words, what they've been doing through television, neuro-linguistic programming, high frequency and low frequency magnetic experimentation, they understand how to control the psychology of the human population. That's why everyone on the planet has a telephone, so that you can look at your phone and receive the data and the neuro-linguistic and the absolutely hidden and black brainwashing and download from exactly what you see. We're very visual. The human mind operates in a threat or no threat capacity. So when you can effectuate the distinctive capability of threat from no threat from the human mind, we don't even respond to a threat that's ever so present and real, because we don't recognize it to be a threat, because our left and our right hemispheres of our mind they're not registering a threat. So the action that required to save us it's not required. So we're complacent. So they send us a stimulus check, give us free Netflix, which Obama owns Netflix. When you get down to it, the BLM is now getting paid from Kroger. Now, Kroger, on the receipt from Kroger, it says BLM contribution. Kroger is instilling a fee called BLM fee. You can research this. So the large corporations now have been incentivized to get behind a movement which is destabilizing the democratic republic system, which utilizes fiat currency and a Keynesian economic model. Now, for more information from Relentless Maverick, you'll have to go to the Relentless Maverick YouTube channel and send me an email or questions or comments on the videos. But the fact is that Derek's been a legitimate player in trying to bring everybody together as a unified voice. You know, listen, consensus is another word that we don't utilize in our vocabulary and in our language exchange between people very often. But if you'll Google the word consensus, it will describe the action that takes place when someone says something legitimately true that rings through the consciousness of the society of humans. And we don't even have to really scream that loud. We just have to say it loud enough for a few people to hear it. And Christ, in a quantum entanglement way, was speaking truth that resonated through the society, the fabric of their culture. And that effectuated a threat on the dynamic of income and taxability, because through the Keynesian economic model and the currency that was created by Caesar, they usurped the entire value structure of humanity. Okay, so that's a whole nother conversation. Another
Babylonian
video.
magic is what it's called.
Yeah, well, where is our language centered? It's centered around phonetics.
Well, again, see, but our language, as I've said, and I was explaining the Tower of Babel aspect, is that our language becomes what we communicate, what we live by, what we talk about, what we do. Like, why do I wake up in the morning and what do I do? I'm always speaking the language of what I'm trying to accomplish. If you're in the world, I'm getting up, I'm going to work, I'm talking to my wife about the cars and what we're going to do. And we're going to build this house because we got to increase the value of it. And we're going to do that. Everything is about that system. There is no other thought. You're literally consumed by the me syndrome. And now that me syndrome is dead because there is no fantasy at the end. There is no American dream. All of these things are temporary. This is the ridiculousness of what we've done. You know, and I wanted to say, I wanted to tell you guys, and just as an announcement here. So there was a YouTube feature film called Life in a Day. And many people, if you've ever seen, you know, the video of me in that movie, it's where most of people have seen me with my orange Lamborghini at the time. And I was in that feature film. Well, that was a decade ago. And the director, Kevin McDonald, and YouTube are making another one about 2020 from a decade from that. And they've asked all the people that were in it to make another video, which I did. And I did on Sunday, which was the day. And so that new movie of Life in a Day will be out. And I don't know what they'll include in it, but I speak about what I'm going to talk about right now, which is the temporary aspects, because in that original version of Life in a Day, here I am talking about my car, my Lamborghini, right? This obnoxiously loud car. And I'm saying, I love, you know, they say, what do you love? I love my country. I love my family, and I love my car. Right. And there's lots of other things that I love, but the reality is all the things that I spoke of then, what I've realized now is that they're temporary. Country, family, even car, temporary, everything temporary. I didn't love anything that was permanent, nothing that was everlasting. And this is the whole point. Nothing that we know is everlasting until you actually discover the everlasting aspect of yourself and understand that your consciousness is energy. It's neither created nor destroyed. You have been since the beginning of time, and you will continue until the end of it. There is no such thing. You will always exist. Now, let me give you a little bit of a very terrifying vision that I was shown about where we're at right now, guys, and just feel led to walk into this part. That if you understand this as a host body system, this whole earth, and that we've repeated this, and thankfully every single time we come back, our memory is removed. Our memory of our past lives. This is why we end up having to bear the weight of karma, according to lots of ancient texts. So think about this, that you have to have the ability to reincarnate or incarnate back in this physical form here, so you can get rid of the spiritual baggage that you've accumulated here. or you'll always have it. Now, think about all the different false images and the illusions that we've allowed ourselves to live by, the way that we've convinced other people that we are. We've convinced other people to see us a certain way. We're not really that person in real life until you're in Christ, like we are now. You're not really that person. You're the image of what you want, keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. But you've created that. And you've also done things that have done tremendous amounts of damage, but you've convinced yourself that it was all good. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. But I had good intentions, but you're not going to understand the gravity of your actions, the massive gravity and the weight of your actions. So think about this. If this is the end of the ages and this planet is going to be in a place where it is controlled by the controllers because they've actually finally built the tower this time, which is why the illusion of the end of the age for them is that they're going to continue this on. But the cosmological systems have a different story. But let's just go with what they're going for. They want to be able to regulate the population of humans. This is their tower. They become God. They decide who lives and who doesn't. And they will only manifest people here in place that go by the controls and the structure of the DNA of the things that they have prevented. So they will not allow anybody that truly is Christ to remanifest. So they'll control it. And now you will be waiting in perpetuity, forever, everlasting. This is what hell is. You will be waiting so you can incarnate and you can get rid of this. That's hell. You never will be able to. They won't allow it. So it's a very dangerous time that we're in. There is very little time. And as we've always said, that when you come into Christ, for some, the loss of it, the self-forgiveness, the absolute redemption can take place in a very short period of time. But for most, it's grueling and it's painful. And make no mistake about it, the faster it goes, the more painful it is. Yeah. It's just shorter lived. So it's like being struck by lightning. I would rather be struck by 20 bolts at the same time rather than being struck by smaller ones consistently every single day for the rest of my time. But just think about that. That's where we're at from a spiritual standpoint, that if you don't get it right now, you're not going to.
Do you believe that the hijacking of the DNA is how they're going to keep you in that kind of limbo state through the...
They already have gene editing. They're already gene splicing. They're already cloning. All of these things, all of these technologies are available to them. And if they need to go deeper into those technologies, they have CERN. They can they already are able to change particles. They are already able to do so many things. They have been building the tower, not just the science tower, not just the space tower, but all of these different bricks, controlling governing bodies, controlling countries, controlling people, controlling the assets that the earth owns, controlling gold. Everything is controlled. This is the tower by brick, man, not stone. See, stone means something from earth Father created that they would have to include. Nah, you can't have that. You can't have something authentic and real. God, we're going to make it work. We will blend everything we needed to create it like a stone that it can withstand the forces. But I got news for you. Just like scripture speaks of, you can hide in the mountains and all of that. Because I've got a little bit of insight here. Just like John, you were talking about with regards to pole shifts and plasma and different types of light and rays that we're going to hit. Well, when this happens, after their elimination of people, their Holocaust, and they think they've got it free and clear, then what happens cosmologically is kind of like a microwave. So if you're inside of a mountain, it's not going to be very good. You're probably going to be turned into some gooey oil that later on humans will harvest, and they'll call it crude oil.
Now, Derek, I wanted to make a point, and I didn't get to say it earlier. You asked me a direct question, and I just started running off at the mouth like always. But the point I wanted to get back directly to your question, I've spent the past 7 months, Butterfly and I, really exhaustively researching the gas emissions, the amount of fires, visible and recorded fires that are located globally across the globe.
Mhm.
We've watched the nullschool.net, which has a very clear, distinctive way of viewing the chemical signatures that are present around the world 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's a site that has satellites that analyze the air quality and the particulate values in the air that we breathe at surface level and above, all the way out into the jet stream and beyond. So in that way of viewing the Earth, you can view certain specific grid coordinates within that nullschool.net. That's November Uniform Lima Lima nullschool.net. And you can go on that site, and in the bottom left corner is a small word that says Earth. You click on that Earth, and it'll bring up a small tab, which will allow you to set and to change the parameters of the viewing area on your screen. And it automatically does it. It'll enlarge, it'll get smaller, and it allows you to look at the CO2 values, the carbon monoxide values, and several other, parameters of gas being emitted from the Earth. Now, one of the gases that's emitted from the Earth has a lot of silica and microscopic particles to it. Okay, it's sulfur dioxide, and sulfur dioxide in quantitative values that have been already established by OSHA for workplace environment and by the CDC. When those quantitative values reach a certain parts per million by volume range, it becomes highly toxic to the human anatomy. And I started this conversation saying pneumono ultramicroscopic silica volcanoconiosis. And I wasn't joking. That is the longest, or one of the longest words in the English lexicon today. It's strange to know that reference of a word is directly correlates with silicoconiosis, a silica infection in the lung. I personally had a phone conversation with a random gentleman. I shouldn't have actually been able to receive this information, but just by synchronicity, and like we have these, moments of clarity and the impression of truth through dreams and others and circumstances. I was in a phone call with a gentleman in Alabama, and he told me that he had just spoke to a nurse the day previously, and she said that she had looked at a deceased individual from coronavirus, and the inside of the lungs of the individual looked like they had been ground up by glass. Okay, so I started to look, and Butterfly and I have really, really worked diligently at connecting the dots in this. And you will, in your own time, and recognize a pattern, a delayed reaction by the mainstream media as that correlates with China, specifically China, the mainland of China. And you can search globally any grid coordinates to refer or to reference what I'm saying and do your own analyses over time. You'll see that the outbreak, if there is any, directly correlates with wind direction, and there is a small delay, but you'll see, yeah, there's some correlation. And what I want to share with you is not only is it just pneumono ultramicroscopic volcanoconiosis, that's not just the issue, but that also includes the flu. That includes all the sicknesses and illness that humans suffer from in our everyday world. When you look at the cross with the two serpents going up and around it to distinguish, that left and right, let's say the snake eating its own tail, the right and the left, and the up and the down of the yin yang, the balance, the dark side, the light side. Here's a good statement that kind of like directly correlates to what Derek was saying. How would you know great purity and great goodness if you didn't know great illness and great evil? So where there is great love and compassion and understanding and a quantum entanglement that allows us to experience a wonderful life in consciousness, there also must be that same value in the alternative, which we recognize as evil today. So I don't want to be a philosopher or scientist tonight, but I can be. That's what a polymath does.
I appreciate it, Mav.
Hey, Bobby, what you were speaking about, I just wanted to add this on what he was talking about. The last time the Atlas passed, like Comet Atlas and Comet Neowise. These are cyclical comets. One was Noah was on an ark, dude. That's when Neowise came by the last time. And and it even represents a new age. That's the name of it. And it takes
during the
place.
Passover, John. It happened in the cycle of the Passover exactly in that week.
I don't know if you would know the name of the festival. Jacob Israel did a video on it, and it's the one about the destruction from the Lord of the things that we hold on to in this world. That's the one. I don't know, the Tavah is the name of the festival. I'm not really familiar with and then Atlas comes every time the Spanish flu. And when we have Inky, March 6th coming up from that great sign, this is also, we're seeing the emergence of bubonic plague and Black Death. And when you talk about the scarring of the lungs, when you look up iron oxide, when you're breathing in iron oxide, which is a big part of this system as well, what you'll find is that it gives you a fever, a dry cough. If you continue to breathe it in, it scars your lung tissue and eventually creates sepsis by poisoning your organs in your blood. So all of the things, and even shelter in place, that's a CDC protocol for radiation, like radiation poisoning. So that's this,
John,
all of these things associate with weakened
my
field.
channel?
Of course.
Have you been watching my channel, John?
Hey, I talk about these things every day, man.
No, here's another really good point. Here's a really great point. Why is it that all of us in the community, and that there has been a shattering of this community, we are all looking at the same reality? And I want everyone to know that we are in a box over here. The only thing we have in this small community of developers, content creators, YouTubers, the people that watch the YouTube, the people that contribute with the money to keep us alive doing it, the only thing we have in this community here in this forum is each other. That's it.
It is.
It doesn't go outside of this.
No,
that's why the words are so important,
gate.
and the time we spend doing this is valuable.
It's a very narrow gate, and few find it. Well, Mav.
Yes, my brother.
Thanks for coming. I'm gonna try to get to some other folks here. I'm gonna
get me out of here. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bounce a few
Love you guys.
Away. Love you. Talk to you soon.
All right, bro.
And Heinrich. So, did you have a question?
Hey, Derek, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Caught me on a Sunday. I'm kind of in nerd mode here.
Uh-oh, people are going to start leaving because there's 666 people in chat.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm following back to I'm following.
We're clear. 672.
I'm following back to where John was talking about how the magnetic fields are coming off and losing their strength. What I'm starting to understand about that myself is listening back to how the planet itself is actually so alive. If she has her own heartbeat, she's also crying out in pain, just like we were constantly hearing. So with that, the chemtrails that they're spraying, the aluminum and stuff are eating the trees up. That's why we're having a lot more fires too.
Yep.
It's a lot easier to get them to burn when they're already dead from the inside out.
Yeah, if you've listened to, a lady that many people thought for a long time that she was a raving mad lunatic, but Deborah Tavares has some tremendous information. I'm telling you, this lady, she knows her stuff. And
she's good.
She's really gone through some of this stuff, and she's no joke. She's a land developer. It's not like she hasn't dealt with this stuff. And, but she's for real. And the things that she'll tell you, only now would people even begin to believe it because they're seeing evidence of it, but it's real. And this is what I mean. Yes. If you think for 1 second that this tower hasn't been built, you're smoking something wrong.
I think I just seen her on Israeli News Live like a night or two ago.
Yeah, Deborah's really a very smart lady. She knows what she's talking about. There's a lot of stuff happening, guys. It's not just the things that are happening in this country. People get isolated to this, but we've got everything happening over the annex of Gaza. In Israel, when the Gentiles surround Jerusalem, know that the end is near.
Yes.
Right. The Gentiles are people that they think are them, but they're not, because they're actually converts. So they are Gentiles.
Have you heard of them?
Deborah Tavares' site, Malia is just showing me, stopthecrime.net. So go to her site, stopthecrime.net. She's no joke, man. That lady She's all over this, and I'd like to get her on the show and have Malia and I interview her.
Nice.
If you really even interview her, because every time I've ever seen her on something, you just say, "Hi, Deborah," and she'll talk for 3 hours straight if you let her. And she is a wealth of information. So I'll give her 3 hours on the show, because it's tremendous information. So Heinrich,
Yeah.
very, very good. Glad to have you on, man. And
Thank you.
I'm going to try to get some other folks on here.
Sure.
Appreciate you coming on. And I wanted them to be able to ask John some questions here. So I'm going to go, let me bring Lumpy Gravy on. Lumpy Gravy. Now I've chatted with Lumpy Gravy a few times on, and there's Lumpy Gravy.
There he is.
Lumpy,
Hi.
can you hear?
I can hear you, and you can hear me, man. Listen to all you guys talk tonight. I got to tell you, you guys are lit. You're well spoken. You're covering some great bases. You're not stepping on each other. You're clearing some good paths, all going to the same place. And in no way, shape, or form am I going to steal an ounce of your thunder, but I got a few points of lightning. Have you ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
Bring them.
Oh, all right. Christ said, one of the best things that you can do is to lay your life down for your friend. On May 10th, I was going east and west on a friendship, potentially. Diametrically opposed we were on some key points and some key moments. And so in the process of, in a very public way, on his Facebook page, I came up with what I thought was a little thought experiment. We both had a history in the entertainment industry. And I thought, you know what, you'll be a Siskel, I'll be an Ebert, and we'll basically take two contrasting points of view and discuss it like gentlemen, and have some music, have some laughs, and sort of flesh it all out here to sort of make some sense of it, because he was really dug in a very polemic system, binary system type of truist type of way. No way, any way, other than that would be the highway. So in that process, I pitched to him an idea on his Facebook page with no privacy settings, all global. And the idea was to pitch him this idea of a reality show starring the two of us. And in the process, and I thought it through as I started to think it through in a linear sort of way to its final conclusion, that, you know what, isn't life interesting? Because if you go for this, and if I can make the pitch and I can make the sale, and I can sell you on this idea, because this is an important, timely type of thing to be talking about, you know what? We've got a great show. We've got great content. There's no shortage of content out there. I mean, come on, look at it. All right. And so could I get him to basically, you know, muster it up? And I was self-aware. I was aware of his situation for which I didn't, and I was also acutely aware of the fact that I was risking my sort of professional sort of standing in that sort of circle. And I was looking potentially very foolish. And I was potentially ready to go east or ready to go west to his east, because it was a deciding point in the relationship. But I was not going to walk away from him, the friendship, or anything lightly. And in the process of going right to the 11th hour on this sort of this linear, cogent, and sort of thought experiment that was sort of took a life of its own, I saw vertical bars. I saw the edge of the world, like sailing a boat off the edge of the world, like the old days, you know, like where would you go? You just sort of fall off. So what I saw, man, was vertical bars right in my living room. I pulled them apart. I stuck my head out. I looked 180 degrees, left and right, up and down. I want to tell you something. You know what I saw? Absolutely nothing. And that absence of anything, it was like a big flat screen TV with just a sort of a hint of a sort of a picture on it, just like a gray zone, like you live in a house all your life and you discover a secret door to a secret room. There's nothing in it. You don't know whatever was in it. Nobody was ever aware of it. But I stuck my head out and I saw it. And it was like, when I stuck my head back in, that was when I understood that where we are is actually a construct. We didn't make it. We didn't create it. It was created for some reason. And I have a feeling it was for us, but was for some purpose, a higher purpose. And this whole stage that we're on, and everything we do and everything we do within it is because of the stage we're on. When you see it as such, you understand that every subtle thing motivation, everything else is understood by the creator of the stage for which we are. We are, in a sense, in a Truman Show. At any given point in time, a parcam could fall from the sky and land on the soundstage floor. And we might go, ugh. And how many times have we seen lights fall from the sky before in a figurative sense? When we basically ended
Well,
up.
we're watching that right now with politicians.
Exactly.
Right. We're watching it right now happen with governors and mayors and presidents and vice presidents and senators. I mean, it's insanity. You're watching these people act in a way that you can't possibly imagine that the people watching can't see it for what it is. There is,
Right.
It is mind numbing to think that it's real. I mean, it's just incredible. But this is the greatest part about all of this, is that we talked about this at length.
What I took from this, Derek, is that in the truest sense, and even though things are going to get very interesting and they're going to get very challenging, but I want everyone that's hearing this to understand this. Really key, so important. What we're in, cover your spaces, gird thy loins, plant a garden, grow some food, but there's a way that you can sort of look at this as a farcical comedy. And you're not wrong to look at this reality which we're in and the construct of it as just a construct. Once you get that sense of it, then you realize I'm free to do anything and I'm available to do anything the Father tells me to do because I'm available for it. What of possible importance is my mortgage payment? If I haven't got the money to do it, maybe I'm ready to walk away from my house. Maybe I'm not. The point is, everyone's got their own particular salad bowl. Other key point, February, couple of dreams. One dream, spiritual warfare, boot camp. 3 dreams, all in one sequence, all the same dream, one right after the other, until I finally got it right. This was about ego, and this was about slaying the dragon on it. Grew up in a Pentecostal fundamentalist Christian home after I left the Catholic Church when my parents sort of got spiritual and woke way back in the 80s when Jimmy Swaggart and the brown polyester suit guys in front of bookcases were selling timeshares to, Iran-Contra. Not a fun time to be alive. Great time to be a fan of Frank Zappa. Nonetheless, that's my background. Spiritual boot camp last February. A grand throng, a mob attacking me. They don't know me. They're just mindless. They're crazed and they're out of control. And I'm in their way and I've got a wall behind me. And I've got nowhere to go but to face them. In the name of Jesus, I command you. Boom. They kick my ass. I'm snuffed. The lights go out. It's round 2. No time, no warning. Second round. Here they come again. Same crowd, same group. Okay, what do I do now? I got to think quick, on my feet. Boom. I command, like I'm Gandalf with a staff. My ego slays me again. Sorry, baby. Round 3. Here they come again. And here's the truth of it. And that's the only prayer that Christ taught us how to basically pray. And that's the Lord's Prayer. And that's all I got. I go to round 3. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The throng, the mob dissipates like dust in the ashes. They collapse. Now,
notice the key statement there, which
the key statement is this. Hold on.
Statement is our Father.
Yes.
Ours. Not my Father who art in heaven. He's only his, right? He's the only begotten Son, by the way, folks. Only begotten in the Hebrew, the words that are used, it just means the firstborn of many. He's the only begotten Son at the time. It doesn't mean he's the only one ever. In fact, Jesus told you that.
Derek, you're right. And here's the other thing that has been missed. It's been missed for centuries. And I realized it in this boot camp training. The truth of that prayer, whether or not I understand it, whether or not you understand it. I know you understand it. I know lots of us understand it. I know that lots of us don't. Whether or not we understand it or not does not change the fact that the spiritual enemy, they understand it. And the truth of it, they cannot withstand it. Therefore, however you want to categorize it and put in whatever ledger, whether it be mantra, whether it be a protocol, a degree of pageantry, the truth of that prayer, whether or not it is known to the person who speaks it, in the moment where push comes to shove, it is known to those that are coming and that want to bring you down. That simple prayer that he taught his disciples to tell us is timeless, and it is really powerful. And then guess what? There's no room for your ego, my ego, or anyone's ego in it. It speaks to a truth that is alive and well, and it is like a bell that goes off, and on a spiritual level, it slays every dragon.
No question about it. Now I'm going to wrap this up, but before I do, we've been on an hour and a half now, and we've got a meal to eat here. But I wanted to say this is that I want to just make sure that you can see and pay attention to the things that are going to take place. As we've said, there is an antichrist that is rising in people, and they will have a head that they'll bring forward. Everything that you read in scripture, they are forcefully fulfilling as a prophecy. This is what they do. So the many will be led astray because they are making the replica of the things that we're taking, that we're talking to you about, and saying, spiritually, this is what Christ said. This is who you really are. But their job is to manifest it here physically. Why? Because they're claiming their God, and they will choose their son. Right? So the organization that they are creating will be God. And ultimately, it'll probably be run by AI.
Yeah.
But the fact is that this is why it's so difficult for you to speak with Christians, that they'll go, but wait a minute, Trump did this, and this is happening over here. All of those are fulfillment of prophecy. Of course it is. They're doing that for your pleasure and for your deception. So pay very close attention. And,
One last
and Lumpy, I'm really, really happy that you were able to join. I appreciate you coming on. And
Just one last thing, Derek.
yes, sir.
The soft shoe atheists would have us believe that we have no free will. Well, if you give up your will freely, you're right. You have no free will. So keep it. Your free agency is your everything, because what you decide to do with it is the very thing that's going to have that has your seat at the banquet waiting for you. The evil forces in their world, they forfeited their seat at the banquet a long time ago. Over to you, boss.
It says the government will rest on his shoulders, meaning the government will rest on your shoulders, your government, your kingdom, this one. You don't go and invade other people's kingdoms. You honor their sovereignty, the sovereignty of that kingdom. The government rests on your shoulders. We don't need these folks.
That's right.
Jesus was the first anarchist. Government is evil. It will always be corrupted. Love you very much. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, John. Love having you here. Thanks
Hey,
for coming
everybody,
on.
go subscribe.
Go to John's channel, subscribe.
Yeah,
Best
sub me up. All right,
Right
thank
there,
you,
you see
Derek.
it.
I love you, bro. Thank you
Love
so
you too.
much, man.
We'll see you soon. We'll talk to you all.